Big deep breath in and big deep breath out as we arrive. And today you'll need 2 blocks if you have them, or 2 other instruments that you can use. If you don't have blocks and you plan on doing more yoga, this is just like, to me, an essential. They're fairly cheap online, so anyways, great tool to have. Let's take our hands and place them on the very tops of our thighs so that the fingertips are pointing towards the ankles. And you're just going to let the weight of your hands start to settle on your legs. And if anything, there's a slight inward rotation. That means towards your legs, so that you just start to feel the top of the thighs there rotating forward. It's very subtle, but very, very important. And so the hip socket likes to have, it's kind of a funny way to put it, I guess our bodies like the hips to be rotated inwardly and rooted towards the back of the socket. So see if you can just take a moment here as we're arriving to feel what that might feel like. And you can not only use your hands, but you can kind of use your internal vision, your little x-ray vision there, to see what would that be like if the thigh bones backed off into the back edge of the socket. So you actually feel them moving towards the back plane of the body, and then gently rotated inwardly. And if you get really quiet and really sensitive, you'll notice that the lumbar spine moves softly inwardly. And just take a moment to feel into that again. The thigh bones resting back towards the back plane of the body, into the back of the sockets, but also heavy onto earth. And the fingers gently rotating. You might get a half of a centimeter. I mean, it's not going to be super profound, but it'll be mildly profound, and that's okay too. And then just notice if, as your lumbar spine moves in a little bit, does your front body sort of collapse forward? And notice if your breath deepens. So that's the first part of the action. So we'll kind of try to maintain that as best we can. As we multitask here, let's bring the right hand up to the very center of the sternum, that beautiful blade-like bone that goes between our chest. And the left hand is going to sit right at the base of the pelvis there, so that the fingertip side almost touches the pubic bone. And then, just for sake of argument or yogic argument, the upper half of the sacrum moves up. So you might feel that already because that lumbar curve allows that to happen. But then the bottom half of the sacrum moves in and down. Now this is challenging because often when we bring that in and down, we want to bring the whole chest down with it. But I want you to imagine there's a split in the very center of the sternum that allows for the upper half to move up and the lower half to move down. And that lower half starts to point inwardly as if it were trying to touch tailbone. And then when you feel like you got it, go ahead and take your arms out to the side like a T. And think of the arm bones very similarly to the thigh bones. So it's a very narrow socket, the shoulder joint. So you let the upper arm bones rest back into the back of the socket. And you might notice as you do that, the chin wants to ride up. So we counteract that by a little tucking of the chin. And then instead of the inner rotation like the thighs, there's a gentle external rotation that'll bring the hands face up. So just take a moment to feel those 2 rotations, the inner of the thighs and the outer of the shoulders. The front of the sternum, the lower half moving in and down, and you'll start to find that this is the alignment that usually makes us feel better in the long run. Inhale, sweep your arms up overhead, And just take a pause here. I've been enjoying, I listened to a woman speak the other day who said, do this every day. She wasn't a yogi, she was a spiritual healer, but I've been doing it just for fun because I like trying new things with my body, mind, and spirit. She said, as your arms are up overhead, just imagine that you are opening yourself up to blessings or to connecting with forces that are bigger, deeper, spiritual. And you just take this moment to imagine that you are being filled up, or you're gathering, or you're opening yourself up to those greater ideas, maybe. One more breath there. And then inhale, bring your hands together until you can interlace your fingers. You might have to soften your elbows. Keep your pointer finger extended and start to just do teeny little circles, almost like you're circling around a golf ball or a ping pong ball. And just breathe here as you make those circles. And you just notice where there's a little stickiness. You might start to notice it in either shoulders or ribs, or maybe both on same side. And you very gently start to increase that circle. Now it's almost a tennis ball size. And you continue to breathe. And now it's moving into a navel orange size. And you're breathing, and you're keeping your core awake. And now it's moving to a grapefruit size. We'll just imagine we're squeezing citrus, which is symbolized by abundance. So what a great thing to do. And now we're moving into pomelo. Oh, and you just keep breathing and noticing. The in-breath is always the lengthening breath, and the out-breath is always the softening, the arriving, the letting go. And we trace the pomelo in the opposite direction. And then we're going to take it slowly down, a little bit faster this time, because I imagine we're all getting a little tired. So we're moving down into a navel, or maybe to a Valencia, maybe to a lemon, a big lemon, and then to a lime. And then maybe just to a little teeny kumquat or something. And then once again, release your hands open and just let them fly wide until they're back in T, and take a couple lookings left and right just to get that neck warmed up. Don't take yourself into pain. In fact, I want you to feel this for a moment. I want your chin to drop a little bit, because I bet you notice less pain with the chin drop down, less stickiness. And if you want to drop your fingertips down to the floor as well, just to get a little stretch here. Beautiful. And then bend your elbows, let your arms come down, back, hands back onto your thighs, and just begin to roll your shoulders around, inhaling and exhaling. Groan if you need to. Let out sighs, feelings of release. Go the other way. I don't usually like to go this way very much because I think it mimics what we do in our lives, is roll those shoulders forward. So let's finish up by a couple rolls to the back again. And then we're going to shrug our right shoulder to our right ear. And I want you to just shrug until you feel the muscles in between the ear and the shoulder sort of fatiguing. So really squeeze those up. We've got one more breath here. I want you to feel it, make it fire, and then just release it really fast. Just release it down. And now just check out the textural difference left and right. Breathe it in. And then repeat that on second side. So you're just squeezing. You're activating the muscles that lift that shoulder. We want to fatigue them, but also stretch them a little bit. Just notice what's happening with chin and alignment. Fatigue. Really squeeze it up. You've got one more breath. And then release it. Just drop it down and feel that textural difference. Now we go both. So squeeze. You want to lift them up as high as you can. Touch the ceiling with the little bony shoulder points. Imagine there's a magnet up there that's just lifting it up. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Got one more breath. And you're gonna drop it down with a release. Beautiful. From here, just let your hands float up into prayer. Notice how already we're shifting. Make an offering for your practice. And then just gift that with a little bow. Gift it to yourself. Release your hands. Open your eyes. And find your prop. So again, 2 blocks. We're coming onto our backs. We're going to do a little core work, a little front body lengthening. So you're going to place 1 block, and I'm going to have it the tall way, but the wide way. I hope that makes sense to you. And you'll place that between your shins, and you'll take your arms and just let them hang out to the side like a T. And then very slowly, keeping a little abdominal action, drop your tippy toes to the floor. And then just notice what's happening here for yourself. So for me, I'm getting a big lumbar curve, but I'm noticing my abdominals are not too active. So as I exhale, I'm going to bring the abdominals in without losing that lumbar curve and lifting the feet back up. And when I get my feet back up, I can notice the tendency would be maybe to flatten my back on the floor. So I don't want that either. So the abdominals have to work. I have to lift in that lumbar spine and drop the lower sternum to the belly. Keep all that. That's neutral spine. Inhale, start to drop the tippy toes to the floor. Bring the lower belly in. And as you exhale, use an exhale, but don't let the spine rock. Let it be super strong. Here we go. Inhaling, touching down. The belly has to come in. Exhale, there's a exhale as we come up. And you can make lots of noise here because nobody can hear you. So inhale and exhale. Let's go for 4 more. Inhale. We're keeping that spine just really neutral. We're working the lower sternum or upper abdominals. And we want the lower sternum to work towards the pubis and vice versa. I think this is our last one. Beautiful. And just grab that block out of your thighs. Wrap yourself around your knees and just hug them in and make a curly, curly shape. And take a big, deep breath here. Beautiful. And then release that. We're going to add the arms this time, but we're going to let the legs rest, and then we'll put it all together. So now we have the wide way between my hands, but kind of the short way, if that, hopefully that makes sense to you. It gets a little complicated with blocks and cameras. And as you push on those edges of the block, you're going to try to lift your arms up into the sky, and just notice as you lift them as high as you can what happens to your neck. What happens to how the shoulders are coming off of the mat. Keep the chin in slightly so you keep length of the neck. And now plug them back in without bending your elbows. So let the weight of the arms settle down onto earth so you feel the back of the shoulders now pressing in as if you were making pistons with those arms. Inhale, lift them up. And go for it, like really lift, but without letting your neck get involved. So you can isolate the lift. Notice where you feel that, and notice what's happening with your lower spine, just so you get really sensitive here. And then exhale, plug it back in. Okay, now here's the fun part. Keep them plugged in. Keep feeling those pistons towards the floor. Find lower sacrum to belly without changing the shaping of the back. And then start to take your arms overhead. Now as soon as your lower sternum lifts up, you've gone too far. So you just work this. It's like upper core work, and it's shoulder work, because you want those arms to stay plugged into their sockets. And you breathe, and you just work slowly, and you let the back of the neck get as long as the arms go down. So you work that. How's your lumbar spine? How are your abdominals working? One more breath. You might be getting shaky somewhere. Good. Exhale to come up. Rest the block on your lap. take T-pose and a big deep breath. All right, I think we can put that all together. Let's take that wide block and place it, that narrow, block and place it between the shins, and the wide block between the hands. Go ahead and unplug both if you can feel what that would feel like, and then go ahead and plug both. Feel that sweet lumbar curve, but the front body strong. And as we inhale, we start to tip the fingertips back and the toes forward. And you only go as far as you can keep that neutral spine. And then exhale, ha, as you come back up. You plug in and you open. You squeeze and you exhale. Let's go for 4 more. Inhale. Really working your mindfulness. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Find your blocks. Take them off to the side. Inhale. As you exhale, curl. Hug those legs. Make your spine as curly as you can. Tailbone to heels. Crown to knees. Last breath. Beautiful. From here, you're just going to rock. And it could be a little teeny rock. And as your feet come off the floor, feel the abdominal engagement as best you can. And your rock can stay small if that's all that's working for your body. Or you can make it a little bigger. We're going to finish up in Navasana, which is an abdominal boat pose. So as you're ready, come on up and see if you can stick it. Maybe you have to walk yourself up there. And you just take a moment to see if you can feel some of those things we're working on. One more breath. I have to always plug in my arms here. They like to reach forward. So I'm going to work at plugging them in. Now I take my right ankle over my left. Oops, I'm going to grab that block. I put it too far away. Hold it in my hands, and my hips drag back as my feet karate chop down. And I just go as far as I can. Maybe early in the day I'm tight. And I've got the tall block, so if I need to make fists or place my forehead on the block, I just feel that first stretching and opening. And I'm going to go back to the very first pose we did, where I placed in my imagination only my upper hand, or my hands on my upper thighs, and the thigh bones move back towards the back of the socket and gently rotated forward. Last breath. And just see how that feels in your body. My core is aware and engaged. And then I root down with those strong hips, and I make myself come on up. I'm going to keep the block there just so it's handy, but we're going to move into one more Navasana. So tippy toes on the floor. Here's another way to go into it. I take my hands underneath and I gently spread my inner thighs and rotate my thighs forward. I find my upper and lower abdominals, and then one leg comes up at a time, taking our time. And you can just stay here. That's fine. If you want more, you take your arms, you plug them in, and you find the boat of your choice. And you breathe. Steady. One more breath. Beautiful. Take your left ankle over your right. As you start to hinge forward, the hips move back and apart. The thighs rotate inwardly. The feet karate chop down. And I find a block for my head. So I'm just focusing on arriving with those hips and gently rotating them and moving the thigh bones back towards the back plane of the body. Good. Last breath there. Root down, get heavy through the hips. Root and ground as you inhale and come up. So here's the pose that Pat was talking about and that I really am loving these days. So I'll show you from the front and the side. We'll start at the front so you can see it that way. So my feet are flexed and I'm sitting on my sitting bones. I'm going to take my right arm overhead and reach across to my outer left foot. My left hand is in a kickstand, and I shrug my shoulder, the one that's holding the foot, I shrug that up as I inhale. Exhale, pull the abdominals back to make a cat shape, and then I lean back and I start to stretch that foot forward, and I'm working, it's like an accelerator. As it stretches forward, I try to shrug and cat tilt more. Shrug and cat tilt more. And that leg presses as I shrug and cat tilt. And one more shrug and cat tilt. Beautiful. And release. And take a cleansing breath. And I'll just move to the side just to make sure you got that. So we're going to do it second side. So now the left arm swings up and over outside of the right foot. The other hand is a kickstand. I shrug that shoulder. I exhale, cat tilt, really curl. And then as I lean back, I lift up that foot, and then I repeat, and I keep repeating. Shrug, cat, accelerate. Shrug, cat, accelerate. Shrug, cat, accelerate. Last one. Shrug, cat, accelerate. Beautiful. Come out of that pose. Bring your feet onto the floor. They can be wide here. You can hold on if you need to, but just take a moment to relax and rest and feel into the body. Beautiful. Take your hands behind you on the sticky mat, and they can be turned away from you or towards you. Just know that if they're towards you, you're going to get more internal rotation of the shoulders, which is fine if you don't have any shoulder injury. If they're out, it's going to be easier to externally rotate and get those shoulders back into the back of the socket. You're going to walk your feet kind of close to you, but wide. So I got my feet as wide as the sticky mat. And I'm just going to drop my right knee towards my left ankle. So it's just dropping like a half windshield wiper. My left leg isn't doing anything, and I'm going to drive the right knee forward towards the ankle as the right shoulder pulls back. So I'm getting like a pull, a little bit of a pull through that right side. And then inhale, come up, take a breath in the center. And exhale, drop left knee towards right ankle and pull the left shoulder back. So the knee is driving itself towards the foot, the shoulder is pulling back. Try not to let the chin jump forward. So you're letting the head rest back like an easy chair. Last breath. And gently come back to center and take a cleansing breath. If you need to take your legs out long and release your hands just for a moment, because we've got one more of those. If you want to take a little wrist roll in both directions, that's a good idea. Here we go. Second time. So coming on up, feet wide on the sticky mat, fingertips pointing, shoulders externally rotating. Drop right knee towards left ankle or foot, and then rotate it. Draw and externally rotate that right shoulder back. Imagining that you could open up that right side, with your isometric action. Last breath. And exhale, release. Second side, we drop left knee. We externally rotate left shoulder and right shoulder too. Don't let it roll forward. And you're just opening up that left side as best you can. Beautiful. Don't let the chin jump forward. Let the head rest back. And release that. Beautiful. Cross your ankles, and as best you can, let's do a little bit of a wrist thing. So we'll just sparkle for a moment. And then we'll do our pulse taking. So we make little begging arms, and you take your fingertips and you try to take your own pulse for a moment. Just really squeeze, opening, strengthening around that wrist. One more breath. Want those wrists to be strong and resilient. Release that, and again, you can do a little shake or wiggle or wave. Okay, hands and knees. We're going to do a little bit of work. This is a combination pranayama and movement practice, and it's easy. And what I mean by easy, not easy as in hard or easy, but soft and easy. So you're not trying to get a big range of motion necessarily, you're just kind of enjoying it. So the inhale is where we take your right leg back. And I like to have have my hands a little wide here and my standing knee towards the center of the mat. Inhale there again, and as you exhale, you just curl and try to bring nose to knee, and there's a little cat shape here, so you round the back, and then you inhale, fly, and exhale, round. So it's inhale, exhale, and again, let it be easy, let it be swingy. Don't worry too much about how it looks. Just enjoy. Just get that breath. Inhale, exhale. And as we continue, we're also flossing the nerve that goes through the sciatica. We're, encouraging its length. A couple more. 3, 2, 1. Tuck your toes. Sit on back. Relax with tucked toes. If that doesn't work for you, tucked toes, sit on back on your untucked toes. And just take a pause, noticing the color, shape, texture difference left to right. Here we go. Second side. So hands and knees, hands wide, right knee drops a little more closer to the center. Inhale, take that left leg out. We'll do one slow one. Exhale, curl. Make your cat tilt. Here we go. Inhale, exhale. Easy does it. Just enjoy the movement. Three, 2, 1. Sit on back, toes untucked. Vajrasana. Hands in your lap for a breath. Exhale, release your hands out to the side. Inhaling, fly them up overhead. Interlace fingers. Take the palms to the sky. Stretch. And then exhale, release the hands, the back of the, keep them interlaced, but back of the hands to the crown of the head. And just imagine you could press from the tops of the feet up through the crown. And just find that, again, moment, that tucking into the inner alignment vision as best you can. Elbows go wide. Squeeze them wide till you feel the shoulder blades drawing together and the upper arm bones moving towards the back plane of the body. Last breath. Beautiful. And release. We're going to come to hands and knees again. You'll tuck the toes and inhale to cow tilt. And you'll just take a couple breaths there to begin to articulate the spine equally on both sides, from starting low in the sacrum, folding in around the spine all the way up. The lower belly comes in. And here's something interesting, and that is a lot of us try to think about our head arching back. But instead, I want you to think of the shoulders heading towards the back of the sockets and the thighs heading towards the back of the sockets. So the neck is a little bit more neutral, and you're trying to make the curl in that part of the body rather than in the neck, which has so much flexibility. Last breath, and then exhale and cat tilt. Pulling in the abdominals from pubis to collarbone. And then we come back to neutral spine. The toes are tucked under, and we push up to downward facing dog. And this is your dog. And so go ahead and bend a knee and then the other, whatever you'd like to do here. Take the next 30 seconds to swing the hips, to get into the sticky places in the body. But while you're doing that, see what's happening to shoulders and thighs. You're always working to bring them towards the back plane of the body and the core to be awake and alert. So without too much multitasking or any rigidity at all, you just want to feel how you want those bones to migrate backwards at their top edges. Beautiful. And to help that, we come back to dog. We inhale to tippy toes and look forward. As we exhale, we drop the knees almost to the floor and look up like a cow. And then we exhale, taking that
driving the thigh bones back to dog. We've got 3 more of those, so I'll talk you through it. Inhale, tippies. Let your face migrate forward as the knees drop and we take cow. And then we move back to dog, driving the thigh bones back. 2 more, inhaling. Exhaling, dropping knees, looking forward, cow tilts. Exhale, drive the hips back, dog. Last one, inhale, tippy toes. Exhale, drop knees, look up, cow. Exhale, drive back to dog. And from here, you're going to walk your feet a little closer. I'm going to walk my right foot forward a little bit until I can reach that right ankle with my right hand. I'm going to pick it up and swing it forward. Maybe that's easier said than done, but it's worth a try. Drop your knee to the floor. Take a pause, and you're just going to move back and forth here. Again, easy does it. Not to get our maximum stretch at first, but just to feel the sweet movement that's happening in knees and hips and torso. And you just breathe it out. You get rid of any tension, disappointment, frustration, whatever you need to just get balanced with. All those are natural feelings. We just don't want them to dominate. We want to have a balance, so we got to let some of it go. Good. And then come back to your lunge and take your hips left and right, kind of in a circle. So just kind of circle those hips around. We've got one more stretch here. We're going to keep our left foot on the left foot, that's called a hand, on the floor in our lunge. We'll walk our right hand up to our thigh. So a little theme here. You might notice my hand is like a C clamp. So the thumb is on the inside, and I'm going to press down and back and rotate it inwardly until I feel maybe a little bit of action coming around the belly and the lower part of the spine. I'm going to keep that, and I'm going to open up that right arm to the sky, and then I'm going to try to migrate my shoulders back into their sockets and stretch and twist. Beautiful. Release that back down to the floor. You're going to plant your hands and step on back, downward facing dog. And just take a moment there to breathe and feel maybe any shifts or feelings in the body that are worth noting. Good. And then you're going to walk your left foot forward a little bit, bending the knee. The left hand comes and grabs the ankle. You're going to have to balance a little on that right side of the body, and you swing that through into a lunge. And then you drop the back knee to the floor. And we just very gently start to move. Breathing in as you look forward, breathing out as you move back. Just massaging through those hip joints. Feeling that gentle stretch of the hamstring, the gentle pumping of the lymphatic system, especially in the lower half of the body, but you're even getting a little bit around the shoulders as well. So you come back to your lunge, and you're just going to make circles, gentle circles with your hips, just waking up all the ligaments, tendons, muscles that are in that hip section. Okay, pause again in your lunge. Right hand stays on the floor. Left hand comes up. There's your little C clamp. So the thumb is on the inside here. The fingers wrap around, and you begin to push it back into the socket. Like you're trying to plug something into the wall, right? And then there's a gentle internal rotation. And I usually feel here that I get a little pickup of my belly. So once that picks up and I notice more sort of adherence around the central line of the body, then I open my left arm to the sky. And I work to externally rotate the shoulders and pull them towards the back plane of the body. And I just make sure here that my head and neck just kind of rest back as if on an easy chair. Beautiful. Release that. You're going to take that left leg back until it's kneeling, and then you'll just walk yourself down onto forearms. And from here, you just stretch your legs out straight behind you so it looks like forearm plank. And you just take a moment to bring the neck in line with your spine. And then you're going to walk yourself up until your shoulders are over your elbows, and then you're walking yourself back. And you're walking yourself up. And if you can alternate first leg, do that, because it's easy for us to have the habit of one side always starting the action. I want you to change that. And you're just working on feeling some strength in the shoulders. That's probably enough. Drop yourself down onto your belly and just take a moment to feel a little Sphinx action. So good for stretching the front of the spine. Tuck your left toe under. Bring the energy of your foot or the earth or whatever it is for you, muscle energy, bring it up that leg till you feel the booty fire, and then keep going up until you feel the left waistline fire and draw in. So the left side of the spine feels really supported, the belly meets it, and then keeping that strong, you melt the organs, you melt the heart. And I find this is very difficult. So as soon as I start to melt, I want that leg to go soft again. So it's going to have to work to stay strong, even as I melt my internal body. And I'm trying to work to keep the back of the skull lengthened and the abdominals matching all that energy. Good. And then release. Woo. Take a breath. Let's try that second side. Take your right toes, tuck them under. I'm keeping my knee mostly close to the floor, but it doesn't have to be. Just kind of yogi's choice. Whatever works for you, don't worry too much. Just bring in muscle energy up that right leg. You might feel it traveling up through knee, through quadricep, through hamstring, into booty. And you want to try to release the other booty. So you just got one side firing at a time. Keep coming above the booty into the waistline. And imagine the waistlines could narrow and squeeze around the spine. And you're matching that with belly, so you're really supportive there. And keep that as best you can and relax all the organs inside. And let the back of the crown lengthen. Last breath. I find that really difficult. I notice that my mind wanders. It forgets to keep the legs strong. Good. Release that. Just let yourself relax a little bit. We've got one more. This last one, both toes tuck under. Here we go. Seeing if we can do both sides at once. Pulling that energy up the body, up the legs. I want those legs to fire. I want you to feel inner thighs even. I want you to feel the strength of your buttocks. And I want you to feel the strength of your belly. Everything meeting at the middle. I like to feel the sense that I'm narrowing the waistlines inside the body. I'm waking up these deeper, deeper fibers. And then I try to keep that and relax the organs down and forward. Last breath. Beautiful. And then just release that all the way down. You can rest your forehead on your stacked hands. And I want you to just shake your booty left and right. Go for it. We're doing this for 30 seconds. I call this lymphatic rocking. It's also a really great relief from back bending work, so enjoy and breathe. I was listening to an article on with Terry Gross on Fresh Air. Yesterday she was interviewing a man who's written a book called Breathe, and it's all about breath. And he said the optimal breath that they've studied is 5.5 seconds in, 5.5 seconds out, so that we're working on bringing balance into the body. So that could be a fun goal when you're meditating or doing a practice, or you just keep that 5.5-ish. He says 5 to 6 seconds in and 5 to 6 seconds out. Great way for reducing anxiety and giving the benefits that breathing gives to the body. And release everything and let your head rest. So when you breathe in, the abdominal cavity, the diaphragm, fills with blood. And as you breathe out, then that blood just goes whoosh through the heart. So though we think of the heart as the blood pumper, the breath is a big ally there. So super cool. I love that. So bring your hands by your shoulders, underneath or by your chest. Make those legs strong again. This time the toes aren't tucked under, but you're just pushing yourself up to a little baby cobra. You're not trying to weight bear here. You're just using the strength of the back to lift up. And if you can, lift your feet and start to kick like you're swimming. A couple more breaths. Firing up that whole back of the body. So good. And then release. Inhale, come up. Exhale, big toes touching, knees wide and apart. Have a block if you need. Sit on back child's pose. See if the neck can come out as if it's in line with the spine. Think about your inner rotation and the thighs moving towards the back plane of the body or the back of the hip sockets. And think about your abdominals coming on in to support the action of the spine. And guess what that means, right? Sternum too. Well, sternum comes into the body and meets the low belly. And we just breathe here for another breath. Here's our last pose before Shavasana. Coming up to hands and knees. I'm moving my block out of the way. I think this one's best to show you from the front. So I'm going to come onto hands and knees, and this is tabletop. So it's neutral spine. As we inhale, we take the left arm up to the side and just take a moment to see if you can bring the thighs towards the back of the sockets and see if you can stack one shoulder under and over the other. And then you bring them into the back plane. Oh, that'll wake up some deep muscles. And then exhale, release that. Let the hand glide between your hand and your knee and come to rest on your left shoulder. The other hand can go straight out like downward facing dog. And if I'm really tight in my scapula, I'll feel this here. So I'm trying to reach both arms respectively. So there's a little squeeze in the upper back. My left cheek is resting on the mat, and I'm breathing into my abdominals. And I'm taking my thigh bones towards the back plane. And I've got one more breath here. And then gently, slowly, mindfully, coming out of that to tabletop. I call this the soak cycle of the washing machine. So we just let that soak in. Take another breath here. Oh, beautiful. And now it's my right arm that sneaks up into a twist. But I always notice that my body likes to go into the easiest form of the pose. So I'm going to make it a little more challenging by taking the thighs into the back plane, stacking one shoulder under, one shoulder over, and taking them into the back plane. Letting the head rest back as if on an easy chair. And then exhaling and swinging it through. And that helps you to strengthen the shoulders. Now when you're down on your right shoulder, take your left arm straight overhead like a downward facing dog, and then both hands reach and squeeze. And I even like to think of the top arm, or I guess that would be your left arm, as externally rotating, so you can really feel the shoulder blades opening up. Actually, both can go into external rotation. I think you'll feel it. Have the thigh bones go towards the back plane, the shoulders go towards the back plane, and the belly gets strong and integrated. Last breath. And then begin to release. Plant the hands down on the floor and take a little time for the soaking in and the benefit. Big deep breath. So to get onto our backs, either with strap or without strap, yogi's choice, but knees are going to be bent and soft. Hands can come underneath the thighs. You're going to work down one vertebra at a time. So you just start by rocking back. I shorten the stance of my legs, like I bring the feet closer. I look down at the belly and I start to curl like a cat tilt. And once I get there, then I try to go for the next vertebra. And the next. And the next. Meanwhile, I'm trying to stretch the spine, lengthen it. Oh, and when I get all the way down, I interlace my thumbs and stretch my arms overhead. Heels in one direction, thighs ground down, shoulders ground down, abdominal matches, and we stretch. Another breath here. Find the grounding of shoulders and thighs, the meeting of sternum and pubis, and the gentle lift of the lumbar. Last breath. Beautiful. Just release. Feet out to the side, arms down by the sides, palms face up. And a gesture, lying down gesture of openness. And you just take this first few moments of Shavasana to open yourself up to the learnings of this practice, to the patience for yourself, and for the mindful offering that our yoga practice is. And I leave you to soak that in and enjoy the results of your practice. Namaste. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos. Namaste.